Now I'm going to explain the strategies we use for population stratification of pre-manifest HD, starting with the stratification according to motor impairment. Motor impairment is quite evident by the time of diagnosis with Huntington's disease. Still, it is not negligible prior to disease onset. Our research questions were the following. Can gray matter integrity help predict future motor impairment prior to medical diagnosis? And second, can motor impairment in pre-HD be detected within a short time frame? For this purpose, we analyzed data from the TRACK-HD study composed of 80 pre-HD individuals. Here I'm providing a schematic of our approach. The inputs of our model, our predictive model, were the CAG repeats of each individual, their age, their CAG age product, or called CAP score, which is a measure of the cumulative effect of this genetic mutation in the individual. And finally, we used an overall motor impairment score called the total motor score. All of these measures being from baseline scan. And the objective of our approach was to estimate the total motor score within a 3-year time frame. Specifically, our model would predict whether an individual would develop a mild or a pronounced total motor score in that time frame. And the model that we used was a logistic regression model with elastic net regularization. Our findings showed that by incorporating brain imaging information, prediction accuracy of the model could jump from a 75% accuracy to an 88% accuracy for the prediction of future motor impairment. In terms of how to interpret our findings, we saw that reductions of gray matter integrity mostly on the caudate, but also on the thalamus, were very informative predictors of future pronounced motor impairment. And the bottom line of this analysis was that imaging boosts prediction by virtue of reducing the noise inherent to the baseline motor score information. Next, we did an analysis of the population stratification of pre-manifest HD according to cognitive decline using information from functional MRI. Again, we used information from the TRACK-HD study, and we used information from a significant amount of longitudinal information from several clinical scores, such as the symbol digits modality test. And we use this information to answer the following research question. Can we use fMRI information from pre-HD individuals in order to predict what is going to be the rate of cognitive or motor decline and stratify the population according to those measures? Specifically, we use information from 74 pre-HD individuals for this analysis. Now, the inputs, I discussed already that the input of the model was based on functional MRI information, but it was specifically a measure of functional connectivity density maps. And this measure works as follows. We look at a specific voxel in the brain. We look at its associated functional information, and then we analyzed its profile of functional connectivity with other voxels. After which we looked at the degree of correlation with all of them and which of these correlations exceeded a specific threshold, giving us this measure of the degree, the number of voxels to which they achieved a high correlation. And the resulting maps were the measures that we used as an input to our model. The outputs of our model, as I specified earlier, was whether we could infer from functional MRI scans whether an individual would develop a fast or a slow rate of decline in pre-manifest HD. And the use methods for this approach were first, try to find dimensions of covariation of clinical measurements. And second, use a logistic regression model with elastic net regularization in order to infer these dimensions of covariation based on clinical measurements. So the idea here is that we have a variety of clinical measurements which are going to be reduced into these principal components of covariation in order to detect individuals that have like a slow decline or a fast decline. Our results show that we achieved a high correlation, as you can see in this panel over here, a high correlation between the prediction values and the slopes of the symbol digit modalities test. And in terms of the interpretability of the results, what we found is that we detected previously a reported aberrant functional signal in the white matter. And again, reiterating what I've just said, they were pretty significant because it was the first time that such a signal was reported in the literature.